Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are and whether you're watching on the replays. Absolutely, my favorite webinar of this series is coming up. Stick with us. You're going to see some amazing things you did not know you could do, A, in Delphi and RAD Studio, and B, as quickly as you can and as easily as you can. Mind-boggling stuff. Let's see. So we've had some people turn up. Now, I know some of you on YouTube are going, wait a minute, it says 2 hours before start. We don't know what happened. Producer Martha and I had a look, and something confusing happened with the time, but we've actually got it correct in terms of the streams. Lots of streams streaming out to, I think, 11 different channels, something like that. A lot, anyway. And I hope you're all happy. I have a live guest today who will be joining me in a little bit, not just yet. I'm going to say hello to a few people. First of all, say hello to Paul, who I was speaking to the other day, I believe, wasn't I? In fact, today, actually. I hope you're doing well, Paul. Sorry about all the things that have been going on, but you get it. And we've been exchanging emails. I'm there for everybody. That's my job. It says Embarcadero, and I'm here to represent the company. I'm always wearing this when I'm doing my work. And more importantly, I have to say hello to Peter Turtle. Peter, how you doing, mate? I used to work with Pete years ago, and we're still in touch. We used to work at a software house together. I may have mentioned this before, but it's slightly fractious environment from day to day, but it's all going well. And he's expat like myself in Italy. I think he's come back to the UK now, but hello, Pete. Hope you keep well. KK, good night, Ian from Iran. Hello, everybody. My Iranian friends who are watching us. Good. I'm really glad that you're joining us. Paul McGee, g'day, mate. Actually, good evening for you, isn't it, or something? It's afternoon for me, but just by 3 minutes. But I think it's like early AM for you. Paul's is in Australia. And Terry, not quite so far away in San Carlos, California. I heard about the earthquake, Terry. I hope you're okay. There was a 7, what do you call it? What's the word I'm looking for? A Richter scale, 7 magnitude. That was what I was looking for. A 7 magnitude earthquake off the coast of California. A little bit crazy. I think you're a bit away from it. And Richard Haverhill, who will be my guest in a moment, is saying hello as well to everybody. And Austria, wow, people from Austria as well. Thomas, hello, Thomas. There's no way I can say your name. Feichtenschlager. I apologize, I'm butchering your name, but hello, Marco, who is in Michigan. Rick says, more Delphi fun. You wait. You have not seen anything like this demo today. It's going to be live. And Terry says he didn't feel a thing on the earthquake. Well, that's probably a good thing, isn't it? I think that's always important. Vitali is in Dubai. Hello, Vitali. Hope you're doing well. So, who Dubai Builder doesn't get any love. Hey, actually, next Tuesday, tune in. I think it's 2 hours before our usual time. Big webinar all about C++ Builder. Believe me, we're giving it a lot of love. Trust me, if you think that, go to blogs.embarcadero.com and go to the blog site and read all the things we have done for C++ Builder, because we really do care about it. And I know it seemed like we didn't, but I give you my promise. We're giving it lots and lots of love. RAD Studio and Delphi. I'm not an expert in C++. I can code in C++, but my expertise is in Delphi. And so I tend to show stuff that's RAD Studio based. And in fact, most of the demos you see me, and certainly the user interface I'm going to show today, will work in C++ Builder just the same. Unfortunately, code won't work yet. And we'll ask Richard, is that fact? It doesn't work in C++ Builder. I'm just going to see if I can see him shaking his head or not. He's giving a shrug, so he's backstage at the moment. But look, tune in on Tuesday earlier in the morning, and you will see our C++ Builder webinar with the C++ team. I'll be there as well in the background, helping out, answer questions. But David Millington will be there, and I think Nuno will be there as well, both from the PM team. Hello from Iran. Wow, it's all sorts of people from all sorts of places. Hello, Kavan, Malawi in Iran. Thanks for joining. And Ireland, Ian. I really like your name. This is the Irish version of my name, or my name is the English version of the Irish name. Depends where you look at it. But Ian, sometimes pronounced Ewan. I think I've heard Welsh pronounce it Ewan that way as well. But Ian, same thing. Hal from Pensacola in Florida. Very nice. Jeff. Hal is also from Pensacola, as is Jeff. Victoria, British Columbia. Doug, hello again. And C++ Builders getting a lot of love recently, says Paul McGee. Yes, I promise you, I know we had some blips. I know there was a lot going on. It was because we were doing some really major things to it, and that's why nothing seemed to be happening for a while. But it's just because what we were doing was so immense, we couldn't just like release bits of it. We had to release the whole thing. So a lot going on. And hello from Calgary. Look, I'm going to call it a day saying hello to people there and just talk about what we're going to do. So I will start by showing my slides. Hello from Istanbul. Hello there. Sinol, a beautiful, beautiful city. Absolutely fantastic. Really, really great stuff. Right. So let me go to my slideshow and say from the beginning. And let me just 1 second, if I can do this, share my screen without sharing something I shouldn't. Looks like I've got that going correct. And just turn my camera off because you don't need me. Oh, wait, hang on. That's it. So what have we got today? Oh, and hello from the Netherlands as well. Yes, Mustafa, I'm there in June next year. And I think Richard, my guest, will be as well. He's live and he will be coming back later to do some things. Right. So let me pull up the navigation bit. I'm sorry about the little flashing screen there. So what are we doing today? Well, today is a very interesting webinar, a live demo with all sorts of exciting things going on. And the actual demo itself is called Not a Hot Dog and how to use AI object recognition in your apps. Just 1 second. I apologize about that. We are literally going to write an app, or we have written an app. It took me 6 hours to do, which is really nothing, but it's actually going to do genuine object recognition. And not only is it genuine, I'm going to try and show it live on my phone as well. It's a very cool app. You should, hopefully, if you're a frequent follower, you know who I am by now. My name is Ian Barker, and I'm the Embarcadero Developer Advocate. You can email me, please do, at ian.barker@embarcadero.com. Anything about the company, anything about Delphi, C++ Builder, RAD Studio, and Ultra Edit, and a few other things as well, which I get involved in. If you want to know who I am and know a bit more about what my life has been like, go to about.me/Ian Barker. That's a website, and you can read about it. The slides, the link, and the replay will be available at tinyurl.com/IB not a hot dog. It's not there yet because we're still doing the recording, so we can't have the replay up until we've done the recording. But you get the general gist of it. It will be there. If you go there at the moment, you'll get a 402 error saying that it's not available. So what is today's webinar about? Well, I am a massive fan of the HBO TV series Silicon Valley. It's absolutely one of my favorites. That and the War Games movie from the 1980s, and also probably Back to the Future, which was like the perfect time traveling movie. They're the things that make me happy. And I've seen Silicon Valley, the TV series, more than once, in fact, several times, and it was just hilarious. It is a parody of what it's like to be a developer in a startup incubator, for those that don't know it. If you don't know it, I suggest you go to HBO and look for Silicon Valley, the series, or Google it and Google Not a Hot Dog, and you'll see about it. There is in the TV series, this is episode 4 that we're getting this from, and season 4. So season 4, episode 4. there is a scene where there is an app which you can see on the screen there. I grabbed that from the screen, which is called Seafood. And this is from one of the characters called Jin Yang. Jin Yang! And he creates an app as part of Erlich Bachman's incubator, Silicon Valley incubator. And it's later called Not a Hot Dog. And the reason is that it can tell whether something is a hot dog or not. It uses AI to see the food and recognize it. And in the show, it's a fake app. And you can see the screenshot there. That is probably an image, because I can guess and tell by the way they're doing things. They also have some other screens as well that are only on the screen for a few seconds. But it's all about the funny scene. And I thought, well, you know what? What if we could create it for real? And you can see the different screens that are there. There's two modes. One is the initial one where you come up and say seafood and the Shazam for food, which Shazam is a great app for recognizing music. And you click on the button, touch to seafood, and then you take an image of some food or that you want to, and it will tell you whether or not it's a hot dog or not a hot dog. And there's also a little evaluating animation there where in the TV series it's going off and talking to whatever backend Jin Yang has written, AI, and tries to recognize whether this is food or not. The joke is, of course, that his app, whilst it can recognize all sorts of food, the only thing it does is tell you whether or not it's a hot dog, which, as you can, I won't quote Erlich Bachman's comments on that, but he does say, Jin Yang, I gave you the opportunity to spin gold, and instead, and I won't say the rest, but let's just say Erlich has got a very earthy, pithy way of telling Jin Yang he's not happy. I want you to pay attention to those screenshots because these appear in the TV series, tiny and only for a couple of seconds. And look at the one where it says the Shazam for food. I want you to see the hamburgers in there, which are sliders, actually, American cheeseburger sliders, some salmon, and then some kind of hummus / potato salad, I'm guessing. So I looked at these and I thought, you know what? I know someone that's got some stuff that we could use for this, and that is Richard Hatherall from Appercept. He has a SDK that talks to Amazon services, and in particular one called Rekognition. And he makes it very, very easy. In fact, so easy, even a chump like me can write an app that does it. And I thought, Richard, let's have a chat. Let's see if we can make this work. Richard pulled out all the stops, made sure that everything works, corrected me on some of the mistakes I made, but actually his SDK does it. So looking at that screenshot there, yeah, we can make that app. And not only can we make that app, we did make that app for real in Rad Studio. So let's take a look at a demo of the app and see what we can do. As soon as I can stop the stupid slideshow, come on. There you go. Right. So this is Rad Studio. Let's see where we got. We've got lots of people saying hello from Romania, hello from Spain, woohoo! Another Victoria, British Columbia viewer here. Hello, Gary, and David from Peru. Incredible. Meanwhile, Richard Hatherall is stuck in the background. Richard, don't worry, you're coming up any moment now. So this is Rad Studio. For those of you who don't know, it allows you to create apps, and you can create apps using Delphi or C++ Builder. If you want to go cross-platform, then you can create an app that will go to Windows, Mac OS, iOS, Linux, and Android. And if you recall the screenshot, there is the Seafood app. And it's a FireMonkey app. So let's go ahead and try and get hello from Maryland as well. Yes. Let's go ahead and share my phone screen, because what I want to do is just show you it working. So if you could see my desk, my poor dog has been going crazy for this. Let me just open my screen, and I think I need to unlock my phone for it to work. This is a little bit janky, and any minute now. Come on, screen sharing, you can do it. Sometimes it takes 2 goes to do this. This is Windows. Let me try again. If it doesn't work, don't worry, I have a movie. There you go. So here is my genuine Android phone. This is the real thing. And if you remember from the previous webinar, there's the Instant Social. And what we can do is we have an app down here called New Seafood. And it is exactly as it sounds. It is a parody of the app that was a parody of apps in general. If I click on this button, what will happen is it will come up and it will show my camera. So just to prove it is actually live, here I am talking to you, and I have things happening on my screen. So what I'm going to do is, here's a genuine hot dog. It is from 7-Eleven. I bought it this morning, and my poor dog has been sniffing it out for ages, and she really wants to have it. But if I click on the camera button, it will go off, and it's now talking to Amazon's recognition services, and it asks Amazon what it is. And if I know that it's a hot dog based on what Amazon's come back and said, then I say, yes, it's a hot dog. Now, in the TV series, we'll come back to the hot dog in a moment. In the TV series, they go a little bit further than that, and they say, "Oh, this is brilliant! This is brilliant!" And they say, "Do pizza, do pizza." So I went to the same 7-Eleven and got some really, really horribly overcooked pizza. Not their fault. It was 7 o'clock in the morning or 8 o'clock in the morning when I got it. But if we click on here, it's checking that. Amazon comes back and says, no, this is pizza, and I'm looking for a hot dog. So, no, it's not a hot dog. And just to make absolutely certain, let's put the pizza to one side. And finally, let's go here and let's do a recognition and say, what is this? This is an apple. So come back saying not a hot dog. And it's not a hot dog. Now, it looks like it's going pretty slow when it's doing that recognition, but actually it's because I put a timer in, so you can see that wonderful animation there. This animation was in the TV series, and Richard said, are you going to do the NAF animation? And the answer is yes, of course I am. I'm going to make it absolutely 100% reproduce. So there you go. That is it really working on my Android phone. So what I'm going to do is go away from that. Let's talk for a little moment about how I did it. First of all, I went in and I said File, New, and I created a new multi-device application. I then went through and heard people here say, does anyone here from Italy call that pizza? I can assure you, the pizza that I got this morning, not good pizza. And Bingtree is laughing. Yes, it really, really is quite bizarre. So what I did was a couple of things. First of all, this is a real app, and let me just go on that screen and hit F11 and F12. Sorry, and here is the code, and it's real code. And in fact, if I zoom it down a little bit, it's a little bit too big. You can see that there's not actually much to it. If I go to the end, 280 lines of code, and that actually includes quite a lot of definition. So what, 280 lines? So there's only 200 lines of code in the whole thing. Amazon, when they recognize hot dogs, for some weird reason, we haven't quite worked out why, they don't spell hot dog like everybody else in the world does, but they spell it like that, hot dog. So what do I do? Okay, well, let's just have a quick look at the UI, just to talk about what it is. There is a tab control here, and those of you that have seen me do this before, I take the tab control, and the first thing I do is I say tab position none. I don't want the tabs on there. The only purpose of the tab control, and this is a FireMonkey app, is to basically provide a container that can swap between one tab and another. In there's some images and background rectangles and things like that. There's a camera button, which is this button here, and it basically turns the camera on. It's got a shadow behind it because in the screenshots from the actual TV show, they had a really naff white circle around it. I wanted to make sure that when I created this app, it didn't just look a little bit like the app, but would it actually, in fact, be a complete, not copy, but, a complete homage to it. That's the word I'm looking for. And so I put that white rectangle around. There's some other rectangles as well. One little subtle thing that you can't see very well on the streaming, I'm sure, is that in the TV show, they had a graduated grey background here behind this label. And so I made sure that I copied that as well. So let me just click on that because I'm clicking on my screen, which is the wrong thing. But the way I did that, if you go into the label, behind there is a shadow effect, but I've also got a rectangle. The rectangle, the fill for the rectangle is a gradient. And so I can set the gradient up and say, okay, I'm going to use a gradient. That's the kind of fill for that rectangle. And the gradient goes from a kind of darkish gray to transparent. All cool stuff. The other thing that is on here is if I just go back to here, I use layers and things like that to make sure that things line up properly. The recognition tab, that's the tab that shows when we're actually clicking on the button to make the app do something useful. And on the recognition tab, if I just go down to there, there's a couple of things. First of all, I've got a layout at the top, which will automatically align things. And if I turn it on, you can see that it says it's a hot dog. And the other layout, which is at the bottom, is saying it's not a hot dog. And then so in order to come back and say the two things, it's a hot dog, not a hot dog, I just turn those on. There's also a couple of rectangles and a few other things as well, but that's how it does it. Now, how do I do the clever stuff? Well, the answer is I don't do anything clever because I'm not really into being clever. What I actually do is I have at the top here, and we're going to talk about this in a moment, we have the AWS recognition SDK, and this is from Richard Hatherall, who's patiently sitting in the background. And down there we have some events. So when I take a picture, this changes the buttons on and off, and then I have a thing that says, okay, when you click the button to say whether it's a picture or not, if it's not already capturing a picture, because one of the things is once it's showing that image, and I'm saying whether it's a hot dog or not, in the TV series, they don't say what happens next. So the storyboard for that didn't exist. And so I had to guess. So I said, well, if you're not actually capturing it, if you've already decided whether it's a hot dog or not, then go back to taking a picture. Otherwise, we end the picture capture. Now, what that does in the background here is if we just go to here, I want to explain the timer, and that is there is another layout which showed that cool, and you probably haven't even spotted this, but I think it's clever. That's that cool animation there. All that animation is a shape control, okay? And so it looks like a progress circle that's animated, and you see it spinning in the real app. But actually, it's not spinning, and there's no code to make it spin. All I use is the power of FireMonkey. So I get a circle, and then I set up the stroke and say it's a gradient, and the gradient has got these red and yellow colors in, okay? And then what I have attached to that is a thing called a float animation. And what the float animation does is it affects the rotation angle of the circle and goes from 0 to 360 and loops round again. And so it makes that circle look like it's spinning. Clever stuff. Now, I would like to claim that I invented that, but the truth is I absolutely did not invent that. That was invented by someone called Andrea Magni, and I'm going to talk about his book in a moment. It's one of the definitive books on FireMonkey. and an FMX. And so if you want to see that kind of thing for real, it works. Let me just go back to this one. This is the one I need to turn off. I'm going to probably end up breaking my app if I'm not careful. Right, so all cool stuff. And I can't show you it on Windows because I'm using the camera. I've only got one camera on my machine at the moment. Now, what I didn't tell you is what happens once the timer just makes that animation, turns that animation off and on. Okay, and so when the timer triggers, I did say to Richard I would. There you go. I would sort these in order so I can find the easier, but no, I didn't. When the timer finishes, and again, this is artificial because the recognition is pretty fast, but in the TV series, I had that animated circle, and then we call a routine that says decide if it's a hot dog or not. Now, I made it so that we can fake the recognition if you don't want to burn through your AWS usage tier, because AWS does cost money. But if we are using recognition, and that's a property that's set at the top, then we call a routine called recognize, and we pass it the label, which is up here. So we are saying, look for an image that's tagged hot dog. What do I mean by that? Well, if I go down to the recognize routine, what that does is it creates some options. It sets my access key for Amazon and my password, my secret access key, which I will change after this webinar, just in case. It sets them in there, and then it creates a thing called a recognition client. This is one of Richard's SDK classes, okay, and it passes those options over. So it's the credentials for logging into Amazon, and then what it does is it creates a stream from the image that was captured using the camera. So you saw the image in the camera, and I then call Richard's recognition client and say to it, detect labels. Now, what do we mean by that? What it does is it goes through Amazon and it says, in this image, recognize everything you can and put a label on it, label it. Now, that label is not a visible label. It's like a tag, if you like. So it could be an apple, it could be pizza, it could be a hot dog. And in fact, in one example, which you'll see in a minute, I actually have a hot dog and pizza in the picture. And when you say, is it a hot dog? It will actually go ahead and recognize the hot dog is in the picture, even though the pizza is already in as well. So it's clever enough to pull these things out. Richard and I are going to talk about this in a moment, about the other things you can do, because this is a joke, a parody of what we saw on Silicon Valley, the TV series, but it's actually to demonstrate the power of RAD Studio, the power of Delphi, how easy this code is, right? Simple code, but also, more importantly, the power of Amazon AI and how easy Richard has made it. And I know he's in the studio in the background there, but you know, when I get it creating the images like that, I'll say, Richard, I'm going to buy you the palapa of your life. It will have 12 posts, braided palm leaves. You will never feel exposed again. And if any of you have watched the episode, or if you go ahead and watch the episode, you'll understand why I said that, because it's just the craziest scene ever about the palapa. But Richard made this happen. He's the one that deserves the palapa, not me. So it goes through these labels that get returned from Amazon that it's recognized a bunch of objects and labeled them and says, oh, I know where these objects are. If it's successful, in other words, it did actually manage to process your image, we then go and iterate through the labels, the list of things that were recognized by Amazon, and we look for, did we find what we're passing over as an argument here? And what we're passing over as an argument, if you recall, when we go back here, we are passing over the hot dog detection label, which actually is hot dog, because I don't know why Amazon do it that way, but that's the way it is. They set it up that way. If we find it as a main label or as an alias, which is something we'll talk about in a moment, then we will leave this procedure and say, yes, we recognized it. Assuming it's recognized in the code, then what we do next is we say, let me just go back and find the recognize. Yeah, if it's recognized, then we set the return value of recognized to be true, in which case, was it a hot dog? Yes, it was. If it is a hot dog, then what we do is we display the results, and all we do is we turn on the hot dog layout, which you recall is the one that says hot dog with a tick, and if it's false, then we turn on the layout that says it's not a hot dog. My app doesn't do anything particularly clever. All the clever stuff is done by Richard, but that's how it works. Just to show you one more time how it works again, let's give it a go. So I'll unlock my phone because I know this is one of those little glitches in the Windows thing. Come on, you can do it. Load the mobile screen. Load it. Load it. Oh, Windows, you are so not very good. Okay. Always seems to fail. This is a Windows thing, by the way, nothing to do with anything we're doing. Come on. Windows 11, you are pants. Try one more time. Luckily, the first demo worked, right? Come on. Load that mobile screen. You can do it. It's not going to do it. Well, I took video anyway, so why is it going to do that? Come on. Hopeless. Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Windows, for being useless. That's fine. Let's stop the sharing of the screen. The only other thing I wanted to do was just show you, by the way, that although we've got a master view, there is also a customized view for the iPhone 4.7. That is my iPhone SE, which is a kind of cool thing. And I also wanted to make sure that it fitted an Android 5-inch phone, which it does as well. It absolutely will work on any of these. It will work on the iPhone, no problem. It will also work on Windows. I can't show you it working on Windows, but just trust me that the app actually works. In fact, if I click on run, although it won't actually do anything, I just want to show you it building so you know I'm not talking nonsense. It's over here. I'm going to here. If I was to click on there, then we're going to try and pull the camera up. It's not going to work because I'm using the camera, but you get the general gist of it. And by the way, this is how to make a FireMonkey app without a caption work. Cool, huh? So there you go. So let's go back to my slides and say from current slide. So when we go to Richard at the moment, we're going to talk about this, but we were using Amazon Rekognition, and it's the real McCoy. It does AI recognition of objects, and Richard's going to do some demos in a moment that are far more complete than mine, that show what it can recognize, what it can't recognize, and some of the limitations of AI recognition, because as we'll find out, my dog may not be a dog after all, which answers many questions I've had in my life. We actually used the AWS SDK from Appercept, which is absolutely amazing. I'm not just saying that because Richard's there. He is a friend anyway, and I'll be seeing him again next year in person. But I reckon I can take him. I've got the body weight behind me. And so if he gets annoyed, I'll be fine. But you can get that from Get It if you want. That is the Embarcadero version, which has got it's got a lot of functionality in it, but there's some things like source code and stuff like that, which Richard can answer in a moment as well. But if not, then go directly to Richard's site, and you can get the AWS SDK and purchase it there. His website did have the price up, but I actually blotted it out, not because he's secretive about the price, but because it's a different price depending on where you are in the world, dollars and pounds and all these things considered. And that's it. So here's just a recap of what it does. This is really my Android app, which was working earlier on my iPhone sharing. And it says, yeah, this is definitely a hot dog. Click on the image and it'll give you a second go. This is a horrible 7-Eleven pizza. And I use pizza in inverted commas there, not a hot dog. And now if I instead point it at an Apple, not an Apple device, but an Apple, it's going to come back and say that's an Apple, in which case I check that and go, oh, it's not a hot dog then. Okay, not a hot dog. And finally, a shot where I've got a hot dog and a pizza in the image. So it should come back and say it sees a hot dog in there, which it does. So cool stuff, huh? I think that's what you call a fairly compelling demo. So stop machine screen sharing and come back to the world of the living. I've got a lot of good things to say about this, obviously, but you haven't seen anything yet. So I think now is time to call up our main guy. Let me just get him on. So joining me live in the studio, side by side, we'll put your screen up in a moment, is Richard Hatherall of Appercept. Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing? You've been very, very tolerant with me.
No problems. But, yeah. Well done for the rapid put together of a nonsense application. It was very good.
What can I say? And the thing is, people need to, if you're fans of Silicon Valley, if you look around, you'll probably find that you may find a few little Easter eggs in the video that will make you go, oh God, he really is an uber fan of Silicon Valley HBO series. We're not trying to rip them off. This is an educational video. I'm trying to show you how you can use apps, to create apps and things like that. But more importantly, how you can use Amazon SDK and how easy app development is. Because actually, 9 times out of 10, when you see an application, as I showed with the Instagram app, which Dave Notch said should have been called Instagram. That was a good one. It really does make you realize that, software development is hard, except when it's not. And when it's not, it's actually quite easy. So, that's it. Let's just put your website there, Appercept, so I can read more about it. So, Richard, I only showed a real surface. Hey, do you think it's safe to eat the hot dog?
Not sure.
I test for 3 hours. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. We've got people from Argentina joining. We've got people from Nantes again. Hello, Einstein. Salut. From Libya as well. My word, there's lots of people from everywhere. I made some notes about various things. For example, I was joking around about the palapa and saying I should buy the palapa of your life. We'll have 12 posts and Brady Palmies, because that's what Erlich Bachman says, and it's just funny. Also, we have to point out, most importantly as well, the synergy, is that the word I'm looking for, between this demo and Silicon Valley, that there's a Richard H in Silicon Valley and there's a Richard H here as well.
Yeah, Richard Hendricks.
Yeah, Richard Hendricks, yeah, but you're nothing like him. Well, at least I don't think I've met you plenty of times, you've never been weird. So, okay, so, all right, we did some fun stuff with recognition. And we actually really only showed 0.01% of what it can do.
Oh, it's a super cool service. I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you've got a demo that will do image recognition and then show you all the labels that come back. As I showed in my app, I get those labels back. I would prefer that Amazon refer to them as tags, but it is a label that they call it. What it is basically saying is objects I've discovered, or what I think are in there. Is that right?
But it's not just objects, and I'll show you in a moment about this. It's also concepts. So it's not like they're saying this thing here is definitely in the image. There are also things about an image that are a concept that it recognizes. So it will recognize, that there's a sky, that you're outdoors, things like that.
I have to say, it's absolutely astounding. And the more that you and I talked about this app and what we could do with the app, it's just a nonsense app and it's a parody of a parody, weirdly enough. But the point about this was your SDK made it, simple for me to do. And the hardest part was pausing the video just to see how they laid out a screen, because I wanted it to be a perfect rendition of what.
No, you did a very good job there. The hardest
my skills making that stuff work, but
the hardest part of that demo, honestly, was the UI aspects, and that was,
actually, that's true. But the reason is because the hardest part was done by you behind the scenes. There's all this code behind it. So let's should we swap over to you demoing, and then do you want to demo the recognition app with the labels and the confidence score? Because the reason that sometimes it comes back and says it's not a hot dog, when you think, well, hang on, it must be a hot dog. We will show one of the images that it gets wrong and why it gets it wrong and what the confidence is on that. So let me turn your screen on.
Okay. So here I am in Delphi, and I've already got open my recognition demo, and so this is available on GitHub. I have a number of demos using the SDK for different things.
I'll put a QR code up there.
Brilliant, thank you. And it's really simple. It's an app with an open image and a detect labels button. Let's just run it first and see what happens. So if I say open an image, let's open. So this is the image of a hot dog from Wikipedia. So this is clearly the perfect example of a hot dog. So if we detect labels in that, it comes back with 3 labels. It's got food, as you can see, and it's got ketchup, and it's got a hot dog. And if I select hot dog, you can see that has been surrounded by this bounding box. So when you ask recognition to detect things in an image, if there are objects in the image that it can pick out for you, it gives you back the bounding box coordinates, so you can actually have a closer look at it. So my demo here just draws this overlay bounding box on top, just to say that's where it is. And you can see
that's Amazon returning those coordinates, right, of where it is in the image.
Exactly. Yeah. And I'll show you some more in that in a minute. But as you can see, like when I clicked on food, there's no bounding box, because that's just a concept of this image. This image is of food. It's not telling me a specific thing in the image. And the same, it's detected ketchup, but I imagine that putting a bounding box around ketchup is probably, movable. But if we have what they call an instance, if we have an instance of this label in the image, I have a tick box here where you can say show the confidence. And you can see, in fact, it will work better if I scale this up. You can see that it's 100% confident that this is a hot dog, and that is most likely because, I mean, this is Wikipedia, right? I would be surprised if this hot dog was not in Amazon's training set. It is the very definition of a hot dog.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
the de facto standard hot dog, I think, is the way to look at it. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So
I did try and get one as close as possible to the de facto, and I should tell you, mine is actually a Chipotle cheese one. So it looks good and it's recognized as a hot dog, but it's not a real hot dog. Yeah.
I mean, when you said you wanted to work to do this, I did go and download a bunch of hot dog images and just make sure that it reliably picked out hot dogs. And
actually, although the joke in the TV series, and we can briefly talk about this as well, the joke in the TV series is that they say, oh, it recognizes a hot dog and something that isn't a hot dog, and so it's a useless app because it only does two things. But actually, they then go on to Erlich Bachman points it down his underwear, and obviously it comes back and says, not a hot dog. Or I think it does say it's a hot dog, actually. And the point they make is, well, hang on, there are certain rude similarities between that and genitals, and the same would be true of aubergines and stuff like that, which is eggplant. But actually, they then go on to use it as an image classifier for
yes. So the irony is
content moderation. That's it. Yeah.
Exactly. The irony is they end up selling it for the purpose of content moderation, completely pivoting from what they originally were working on.
Correct.
And but Amazon Rekognition has content moderation as one of its significant purposes. So it is actually capable. There is a method on it to analyze an image or a video. You can do video analysis with this as well. You provide it an image or video, and it will tell you, and it will give you a description of what is in that image, allowing you to make a judgment about whether it's safe for your user base or not.
So you could. So if it was a site that was child friendly, you would probably want to have a very high confidence.
Exactly,
there was no nudity in there. Whereas if it's for something like Facebook, then you probably want it lower if the person is signed in as an adult, but you still don't want to have it so low that someone doesn't show a picture of a hot dog, shall we say, but it shows their alternative rendition of a hot dog. And then you would want to flag it, and that was an interesting thing that reality mimicking these kind of TV shows is quite weird. I'm sure that maybe Amazon already had this, but there was a couple of other things. What was the one you were going to show? The dogs picture.
Well, I'll show you first.
Okay, carry on. Yeah.
This is my demo image that I use for the screenshots for GitHub. So this is a nice scene taken down in Jersey, where I'm from. And if I hit detect labels in this, there's a lot more going on in this scene. So let me do that. And oh, it's taking a little bit longer to come back, this one.
You probably maxed out your credit card.
Oh, yeah. Let's just double check that.
It could be scaling as well, which might be the other thing.
Oh, like it could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. Oh. Okay. I don't know why that is.
I'm very pleased that happened.
Yes.
But my problem was not that my app didn't work. It worked fine. It's just that the Windows sharing all of a sudden stopped working. It'd been working fine up until...
That was a network error that just happened. But it can't actually be a real network error because we're talking, right? Unless
it definitely got network working. So
so let's quickly do detect labels again. Oh, you know what? Okay.
Did you change some settings?
I changed some code on you actually. I changed some code on this. when
I want
to
me
make
to
it more,
turn your screen share off for a second. Just so I'm going to turn your screen share off just in case you accidentally open something that you shouldn't.
yeah.
So
So
whilst you're looking at that, there's a couple of other things that I want to talk about in this as well, in recognition. And live demos always have to have something go wrong, otherwise they're not live demos. That is very, very important, and also it makes me look really awesome, which is great. As you know, I always say, "Oh, don't do it live. Don't do it live." And then today we're like, we'll do it live. We'll be absolutely fine. And then, whoops, yeah, we both did something. But the other thing you were talking about recognition as well is the fact that it could count things and also do things like detect PPE, personal protection equipment, and which I thought was very interesting. And so some use cases for this for me, whilst you're working out your code, would be
I just reverted. Sorry, I just reverted that code. And
you got it working?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me share your screen again. Sorry, everyone. Now you know it's live.
So we'll run this again. I just took out a little bit of code that Ian said this will just optimize it, save you from reading a file twice.
Oh, I see. It's my fault. Yes.
But if I hit detect labels now, so it sends the file up and comes back.
There you go. See, that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. So as you can see, there's a lot more going on in this image, but most of it is actually it's general information, or scene information. But the one thing it's detected on here that it picks out for us is person. So as you can see, I clicked on person and it's highlighted 2 instances. So this is because there are 2 people in there, and it gives you back a list of all of the instances. And if I say show confidence on them now, it actually tells me this one here is 99.06% confident, and this one is 99.27% confident.
Yeah.
So obviously this one's a bit further
it's
away.
Pretty certain they're humans, and it's pretty certain they're in there. Yeah, which I think is pretty impressive.
Yeah, and then you gave me a test image and said, it gets this wrong.
So these are my famous dogs who have appeared on various webinars and things like that. The one on the left is a terrier, just so that people know. He is a dog, but he's not quite like normal dogs. And actually, you see the way they're lying, it will give you some idea of quite how balmy they are. The one on the right is obviously much bigger and a bit chubbier, and she's a English cream golden retriever. But Nemo is an odd kind of dog. So if you click on dog
on the right, 98.5% sure that is a dog. But then you've got a cat down here. And to be honest, it's 86% sure that that's a cat. And honestly, when I first opened this image, I wasn't sure. So
the funny thing is, he's got a moustache. One of these dogs. He's a part Shih Tzu, part Border Terrier.
Okay.
And he's a rescue dog. We rescued him when he lived for a month wild in the winter of Nebraska. That dog has experienced a -30 wind chill when he was 4 months old as a puppy. It took them a month to capture him. He was a hard dog to get. But the thing we always say about Nemo is more like a cat than a dog, which is so weird. And Lisa Lisa, my wife is going to be so weirded out that Amazon think, yeah, he's probably a cat. Or at least might be a cat.
Yeah.
Actually, but Rick says, I'm also 86% sure that's a cat.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And I have to call out someone else as well. Abraham, who a VA, is one of our regular watchers. He lives in Nogales, Mexico, which is on the border of Texas. And I feel quite an affinity being in Texas. And he says in the English translation, it's an excellent project. Greetings to everyone from the front in Nogales, from the front line of Nogales. And thank you, Abraham. it's hola to my friends down in Mexico.
So it's probably worth me pointing out in this project, when I click the button to detect the labels, the actual behavior of detecting the labels is really like trivial.
Can we zoom that up a little bit? You know, on the
I
plus
can,
symbol.
I can. Sorry, I do have a crazy high res kind of.
Yeah, you're one of these Apple fanboys, aren't you? With this super high res
I hate
things.
the term
Everything.
fanboy. I like to.
No, I think it's entirely appropriate. I'm sorry, I'm not letting you get away with it. But no, you're a person who recognises quality, and that's what you choose. That's
exactly. That's exactly it. So here,
anyway.
so you can see, really, there's. I mean, apart from the definitions of the local variables, it is 4 lines of code there. And you could, if you wanted to, you could wrap that up to 3.
and compare that to my code. It's basically the same.
Exactly.
And I took your example, and this is what I like: is people that make me look good. I took your example and basically butchered it and put it into my stupid little app, and then I had the user interface around it. But I have to say, the most of the time on that app was spent on the user interface, getting it just right, so it looked like it does in the TV series. The actual Amazon recognition stuff I did last night about 9:30 at night.
Yeah.
Half tired. I'd been up since I start work at 7 a.m. and I just slotted the code in and it worked. And I know people go, oh, this sounds like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a advertising for Apposite, but hey, look what we can do with it. And this is only one of the things. Like I said, there's the ability to count objects in there, and the ability to look for PPE detection. Carry on.
I was going to say, So here, just like yours, the most complicated bit here is not the detection of it. It is when you click on an item in the list, it basically says, I want to, from that label that I found, I'm going to load the image file up, but I'm going to redraw it with annotations on top. And I go across the instances of the label that has been selected, and I'm going to draw around that. And the most complicated bit is actually the user interface code that says, here's a rectangle, here's the points of the rectangle, and if I've checked the box to show a confidence level, here's also, I'm going to draw on the text next to.
You wrote that this morning as well, didn't you? This is a little insider story, because I said, could we show the confidences? And you said yes, and I'll write it. And you wrote that code this morning. So anybody who has any doubts about your competence as a programmer should realise that A, you wrote the library in the first place, and B, you had Ian going to, hey, Richard, could we add this bit in? You're like, yeah, I'll be fine, and off you go and do it. So it
was pretty last minute, but it's it's a I mean, this is not that hard. This is not that complicated. It's just it's just I'm making the point that actually the interaction with Amazon is the easier bit to deal with. So and I can show you as well. There's, if we go to if I go to the if I go up here and hit F1 and you get my help come up, in fact, actually, I'm going to go to the contents.
That's Windows Help for you.
Oh, was that Windows Help gone? Let's try it again.
Actually, I've got your help open. I can show you help. Using it whilst I was coding. People it is a massive help. So they like what they see, which is very important. And I want to emphasize as well, if you've got not with the CE version, but with the paid versions, I think it's enterprise upwards. Is that right? The Amazon, the Embarcadero version comes with it.
So the Embarcadero edition comes with enterprise and architect subscriptions for RAD Studio and Delphi. So if you're on one of those tiers, you've already got it. All you need to do is go in to get it and click install.
Yeah.
And
but if not, they can go to your site and they can get it. And it is ridiculously cheap as well. I mean, I don't want to say cheap because actually that's the wrong thing to say. And I want people, not on this one. I want people to understand the difference between cheap and cost effective. You know, if you were to go away and try and write these libraries, and there are some libraries out there of varying quality, someone trying to write this library, if they knew how much work goes into this, and Peter Turtle is going. Peter, you're not allowed to leave. I've told you that before. He's looking forward to playing with it. He's a great developer, by the way, Peter. You get on very well, and he's a Brit. And like I say, I used to work together with him in Clapham back in the day. You remember the bombings around London? We were working together at that point. Anyway, so the point is, if someone's going away and go, oh, you know, I can use a library to do this. You and I, and in fact, I'm going to stop screen sharing for a while. If we come back to you and me talking, I think. And I think I can do this.
Hey.
Yeah, should we do that? I'll do that. Yeah, let's do that. So, and yeah, they've got to know where the Easter eggs are in this world. If they look around, they'll find some Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Things. But anyway, the point I was trying to make was, you can find other Amazon libraries out there, but what people don't know is that you are a tech partner for a start and an MVP as well. And not just any old MVP, but I think one of the better ones. And I don't mind being rude to people. I don't mind being rude to people's faces. So if I thought you were rubbish, I'd say so. But or I just wouldn't have you on, I think. But what that people don't realize is that as part of the Embarcadero version, you regularly have meetings with some of the top people, and the lower class people like me, and you know, I sit in on one regular sort of progress meeting that we have about your stuff, and you are, I think I can say this without exaggeration, you are a master craftsman at what you do. I sent Richard over my example code this morning, and he went, let's just tidy that up. And I'm like, oh. Right. And he did. He didn't do much to it, but he did tidy it. But mind you, he did manage to add something to his own code that broke, so that's good. But it didn't make me look that bad then. But you know, your stuff is engineered to the max. You tell me in these progress meetings, and there's things we can't discuss, but you know, what goes on behind the scenes, like the number of retries and the the kind of concomitant sort of stuff that happens in behind the scenes is astounding. And when I look at your code, and I look at a lot of code, and sometimes people send me code and go, this bit's broken, and I'm like, not surprised. You know, I see your code, and that is, it's like poetry. When I was a poet, I used to be a professional poet. They used to say, if you read someone's poetry, you know the inside of their head. And code is poetry. That's what they say on WordPress.org, and it's true.
Yeah,
you know, because when I look at someone's code, I almost immediately know how that person thinks, what their attitude is to their work and stuff like that. And I look at your code, and I just think, wow, you're meticulous. You are one of these people that polish everything, but you still manage to ship, which is more important as well, because so many people will polish things forever and never ship. You actually do that as well. So, you know, all credit to you. And, you know, I've said this.
Well, thank you very much. It's very kind of you to say. I was bringing up the help because I have an index there of all different functions.
Sorry, did I stop?
No, it's okay. I just wanted to say that, like, we've shown quite trivial examples so far, but like this is really like a very powerful toolkit here. So you can take it. You can analyze faces. You can detect actual faces, and it will tell you the details of the face.
My favorite feature is we talked about this, and we could create a celebrity stalking app.
Oh,
Now I'm sure you and I would go straight to jail for that, but and over here that would be a very long sentence. So you don't want to mess with American prisons, but it's able to. It's got a big index of celebrities. Is that
so
right?
Amazon maintain an index of tens of thousands of well-known, notable people. So you can you can pass video through it, or you can pass images to it, and it will tell you if there's a celebrity in that image, and again, the confidence level it has that it is that celebrity.
So, for example, if you were running some event where you'd invited lots of people and you expected movers and shakers, like Richard Gere and people like that to turn up, and you know, let's say it's an award event or something like that.
Yeah.
It would be possible for you and I to write an app that would look at the camera feed as it panned around the audience and recognize whether Sandra Bullock was there, for example, which would make my day, or some other
and that, if I remember rightly, that is probably the first instance I actually heard of this happening, which was the last royal wedding. The news broadcasts used this technology to help prompt the presenters to say, "Oh, so and so is arriving here. Oh, we can see so and so in the crowd," or
Yeah, which is amazing. And you also said that you're able to train it as well.
You can, yeah. So if you say, for example, if you've got an employee database, and you want to, I don't know, if someone here had any interest in time and attendance systems or something like that,
I have done something to do that a while ago.
Then you could potentially use it to detect people from your employee database. You could, if you've got security applications, you could even say, "Oh, this person's out of place."
Yeah.
The world.
The example I gave was combining the ability to count things, the ability to recognize objects. And so let's say you have, you're a big grocery store chain or supermarket chain, as we'd say in England.
Yeah.
And you have got a cold store that have sides of bacon hanging, because when bacon arrives at most proper butchers, it's a big lump of pig. It's a side of pig. And maybe not bacon, but certainly beef is expensive, and lamb as well. So let's say that you could use a recognition to write an app that would say, "Here's a side of bacon, here's some beef," and all the rest of it. And it counts. We could get it to count that there are 5 sides of bacon, which are worth a couple of $100 once they're processed into slices of bacon, because per pound bacon over here is like $3.50 or something minimum. And what you could do is actually get it to say, "Oh, there's only 2 now. The number of sides of bacon has changed. Who was the last person that went in the cold store?" Because we don't have it on our inventory that side of bacon's been removed. You could literally write an app that would say, "John Smith went into the cold store at 10 a.m., took a side of bacon with him and didn't sign it out." Or took, if he's really strong, took 2 sides of bacon with him and only signed for 1. And you could actually do that. You mentioned Amazon pop-up stores, and you said that
they did
kind of technology was used there.
They did a while back. They did these proof of concept stores. I don't know if they still do them anywhere, but the idea was that if you have an Amazon account and you're registered with them, you could literally just walk in and walk out with whatever you wanted. You didn't
They had one down in the mall near us. Yeah. And it was weird. You go in and you feel like you're stealing something, because they just know who you are. It's really weird. I know that I've seen that same technology used in Walmart, and I think Kroger's do it as well, but Walmart for sure do it. You've got these self-scanning checkouts, so no human. And I know that probably happens in the UK. It's been a while since I've been to the UK, and technology has moved on a bit. But what happens is,
there's a question here that I think is interesting.
Yeah, we're going to answer it in a second. So someone scans it, and it sees all the stuff being scanned. And the Walmart one, if you scan it but it doesn't scan,
Mm.
and you put it in the bag, it will then stop and go, "Hey, did you forget to scan?" And then says whatever it is, and it shows a video of you overhead and can show your scanning. So it's quite interesting technology. So the question you were going to say is, is the SDK capable of detecting landmarks in medical images, X-ray images? I don't think it is.
So I don't think there's an out-of-the-box function. I'm pretty sure there's not. I've written the SDK. I don't recall one.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about this is, so the technology behind the scenes from Rekognition, it's actually built on top of a service of Amazon's called SageMaker, and SageMaker can be trained to do all kinds of things. So you can give example or pre-annotated images. So you can say, here's an image and this bit here is whatever. And you can, on a relatively small amount, you don't need like thousands of images. You can give it a handful of images and say, these are this thing. And the more images you give it, obviously, the better it gets. But you can start off at relatively low amounts. And if the thing you're trying to detect is relatively unique, it will pick it up pretty quickly. And then you can say, I would like to recognize, I'd like to detect labels applying these custom labels. I would like you to take into account this custom model. And
car parts example as well, where I mean, I could see an app where you take apart, because everybody does it. They take apart some object, like a lawnmower or something like that, and they go to put it back together, and they go, crap. Which bit's where. You can have an app that told you, oh, you need to reach over and get this bit and screw that bit in next. It would be possible for a flat pack from IKEA or somebody like that. You put all the parts on the desk, you point the IKEA app at it, and anybody watching this, you don't have to pay any royalties for this idea, but IKEA will probably buy it off you. Point it at the parts, and it then highlights the next part in the sequence of events to screw it together. Because how many people get flat packs and go,
where did that thing go?
And you always end up with like one screw and like, crap. I have a desk that rises up and down, a standing desk.
Yeah.
And I got to the very last part of it, and I went, why doesn't that fit in? And there was one part right at the very start of it that just happened that I didn't realize that, although I was very careful with everything else, this one part had to be reversed, and I had to take everything to bits. And you could write an app using this technology to stop all that. So it'd be quite interesting. By the way, I think it's also important to point out that it's not just Rekognition that your Appercept stuff does.
Oh no,
it does a whole bunch of services. Why you're back on Tuesday, and I think Friday as well. Yeah, because you do Poly, Amazon Poly, which is the poly
text to speech.
Yeah. You do Textract, which is extracting text. Is that right?
Textract, so that extracts text from documents. Now, I should point out, Rekognition will also extract text.
Right. Yeah.
You can tell it. You can ask this to detect text, and it will do that for you. The thing that Rekognition will do that Textract won't, because Textract is really good at like documents kind of things. Like I've got a photo or I've got a PDF or something I want to extract some text from. Rekognition will do it on video. So it will, like you give it a 10-minute video, and it'll tell you all of the timestamps when a piece of text occurs. So
it's just mind-boggling what you can do, and they can do that with your SDK, and that's the point. And Poly I've used in the space computer demo that I've done in the past, where I got it to say, like welcome aboard Ensign Barker or something, or Captain on the Bridge or something, and there's just service after service after service, and you keep working like a little Trojan behind the scenes to get those done. And we wanted to make sure that we are telling people, go to there, or if you've already got enterprise version of Rad Studio. You can get the Embarcadero version, but yours takes it. Your Pro version takes it one step further and does what.
Yeah, so the Pro version you get source code for it, and you also get support directly with myself. So if you want to talk to someone who is an Amazon specialist, then you can ping me your questions, and we'll try and answer them for you.
Yeah. So. And I know I say this, and I'm a very kind of upbeat kind of person anyway. Daniel says it read the spines of books from a test image I used. That's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's all credit to Amazon, because this is their stuff that is doing this, and they've got the money, to promote these services. I'm sure they have all sorts of government funding, to recognise faces and extract text from movies and stuff like that, and place names and God knows what. But you could do. You as a normal, regular Delphi developer, not a rocket scientist, could write some apps that are, outstanding. Advances, in what can be done. And you could do it in a mobile app. I showed a mobile app today. It took me 6 hours. 90% of that time was the UI, and it was just a NAF UI. And the only reason the UI took that long was because I was trying to, emulate parody what was on the TV screen. I could have done it much quicker.
Yeah.
It
is worth saying that Amazon, I mean, you say, oh, they must get huge amounts of money from government or something, but Amazon, they do things out of necessity. So like one of their customers who famously built their platform, Netflix, on top of Amazon Web Services, they have all kinds of trickery that Amazon provide for them. And I imagine one of them is actually possibly provided by Rekognition here. It has the ability you can ask it to detect segments in a video. And that is like, I want to know when the title screen is. I want to know when the credits are. And it will give you the time codes for those items. And that enables those streaming services to do things like, oh, you've hit the credits. Well, now I push that up to the corner and I put some advertising content there, and people can click back on the credits if they want to see them and things, but they need the metadata to be able to do that. And Amazon Rekognition can do things like that for you.
And people need to realise that, all this stuff, which is really super clever, like you could literally create a celebrity tracking app. You could create an app that detects, I'm going to go to jail, aren't I? But you could, or avoid celebrities. Maybe you hate Sandra Bullock and you don't ever want to see her. Oh God, she's outside. Oh, I'm not going out to or Richard Gere or something. I don't know. But also the PPE detection. Are they wearing safety gear? If not, don't let them on the building site. Was one example you and I discussed where I used to write software that would do hand scanning using a dedicated hand scanner from Schlumberger, I think, or something like that. Put the hand on because builders have cut up hands from handling bricks, and so fingerprint scanner's no good. They're quite often wearing goggles and things like that. Face scanner, no good. A hand scanner measures the bones in the hand, so they can wear gloves and still get scanned and recognize them.
Right.
That big turnstile that was huge to stop people going onto these building sites in East London by the Docklands, and you could take that a step further with your stuff and get that same app to not only refuse to open the turnstile, but say, I'm not opening it because you're not wearing your personal protection equipment.
Yeah.
Where's your helmet? Where's your high-vis jacket? Go to the reception, collect it, or explain why not. And then the same with a factory where it's what they call high risk. A lot of time and attendance customers that have clocking in machines, they do things like they make bread, they process cheese. There's a factory that makes 1 million flans, like, quiches, a customer of theirs. And it's high risk because if you carry something on your clothing into that area, even a small dog hair is enough that it could contaminate a whole run, and you've just lost that whole run. You know, how many times? So they have to get changed before they go onto the shop floor, and that would allow that camera to say they haven't got the right equipment on. Don't open the relay for the door, and instead show them a message on the screen that says you've got to put your hat on before you open this door. I think that kind of thing, being able to write Delphi apps that do this, it's not difficult. You know, it's not difficult. You know, and this is your SDK that makes it easy. You know, because behind the scenes, it's difficult. I've seen what it does, and my God, it's hard work. So, you know. Anyway, look, you know, enough telling you how brilliant you are. I think you know, but you are, and you know, like I say, if anybody's not sure, go to the QR code there, which a few people scan anyway, and on the replays, we'll always get a couple of thousand people, but it's something that Embarcadero is very excited about. We took out a partnership with you, to make sure that we'd get this thing in here, because to people like Marco Cantu and myself, it's an obvious thing is a good system, because what you're providing here are enterprise level services, and those are where the majority of our customers are enterprise level. They're writing things that do things like scanning trucks, and detecting whether there's a cat in the building or something, or whatever. And I think you make it very, very easy. I always like the guys that come on, do all this clever stuff, and make me look good. And my demo, Mickey Mouse as it was, is all down to your clever stuff. So I just knew how to use it. So cool stuff. Okay, well, you're back again next week. We're going to try and do Not a Hot Dog, which is another not a hot dog, not bro, which is another
bro. Okay, yeah.
I think we've decided we might be doing that a different way. I think we decided we might do it via MQTT, but we'll see how that works. We can talk about the Amazon stuff, and then I think there's another one on a Friday at some point where we're going to go through all of what your stuff to do, and you're going to show you various demos and things like that as well, so that we make sure, because Amazon's it's a treasure chest of little toys and things like that. So excellent. Okay, and Benno says, now go and give your dogs their hot dog. Actually, I put mustard on the hot dog, so I can't. And it's spicy. It's got chipotle in it. I'll give them the pizza, although I suspect that pizza is now fatal for most
I'm not sure why those things are safe after the hours they've been.
I don't mean to be rude, but look, 7-Eleven, you could do better than this. This is how it looked when I picked it up. It hasn't got worse. But it was the only one we needed it for the demo. So yeah, excellent. And as Rick says, Delphi on every test up. Yes, I'm sure we're up for that. Francis, I know you do some stuff with healthcare, but mate, there's some ideas for you there with the healthcare as well. And it's good stuff. Right, well, thanks a lot, Richard. And I'll see you again next time. I'm going to turn you off for now, so to speak. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Okay, well, thank you to everyone for joining and sticking it out. I an hour and 24 minutes. I do like the Friday ones to go into a bit more depth about some technical subjects. It's quite important, I think, to make sure that we cover things in depth. But I also want these webinars to be more. I want you to know I am not some kind of rocket scientist. So many times you see people demoing code, and they're put forward as being elite, and I'm not elite. I'm competent. I've been a developer for 40 years, and I know what I'm doing. Okay, but there are plenty of people way better than me. You just saw one of them. That was Richard. He's a star at all this kind of stuff. But I want to make it absolutely clear that anything you've seen done today, you could do yourself, and it's not that difficult. It's not easy. Otherwise, people wouldn't pay more money for developers. But at the same time, it is reasonably straightforward stuff to do. So I want you to, I'm just one of you. I'm a developer like anybody else, and I sometimes sit there and go, how do I do this? And then someone clever comes and shows me, or I get Richard's demos like I do. Ready to rock and roll. I cut out the good bits out of the demo, and he makes it look I know what I'm doing, when in fact I don't really know what I'm doing most of the time. And like I say, you just need to look around and make sure that you spotted all the little Easter eggs to do with Silicon Valley, because if you've not watched it, it's episode 4, season 4. About 4 minutes in, weirdly enough, all the 4s, you will see they're not a hot dog app for real. And the same season also has the Bro app as well, which we're going to try and reproduce. Not quite sure if we can do it yet, but Amazon got a few things going on that we might. It might be complicated because of iOS and Android requirements, not because of what we need to do to make it happen. But anyway, appreciate it. And Abraham Villa says, need more demos from Richard. You know what? I'm glad you said that, because if you go to here, scan that QR code, or just go to Richard's website, you'll see more samples, because we only showed one. Believe me, there are lots of samples and lots more demos. He's pretty good at it. And also, if you go to the Delphi Summit next year, which you really should do because it's going to be a whopper, Richard will be there demoing his stuff as well. He's going to be in Amsterdam for the Delphi Summit, which we'll talk about later. This is hilarious. Skybuck Flying says, make a Delphi crypto coin. There is already one. There's already a Delphi, it's called Pascal coin, and it's a real crypto coin. So someone's already beat you to it, I'm afraid. Add currency from Golang to Delphi for compatibility. I don't think we're going to do that. Go is a ridiculous language made for people who don't know how to do it the easy way. Anyway, thanks very much, everybody, and I will see you all on Tuesday, same time as today, noon my time, and 6 p.m. UK time, I think, 5 p.m. UTC. But anyway, just go to the site and register, and you'll see us. I will see you soon. Bye.